cinema, there is an opening that is infinite. So cinema can take you back to literature if you return to the idea of the oral tradition. This is one little possible opening for cinema to return to literature, because that's given to us the ease that this part of the world feels even today in 2023. It's amazing. I just get baffled. What do I give with my world literature, all the books and all the films? I mean, I see 40 films in 10 days at the film festival for the last 50 years. All over India, all over the world, we attend film festivals and we choose. What do I do with it when I see the entire community in my building is listening to storytellers and they're getting their poetics from there? As I said, you accept the fact of being alone, but you still want to inform yourself and the world that let cinema return to itself, like literature return to itself, accept a solitary journey for being what you are, and then something will begin to happen. In that sense, if cinema reaches out to literature, why would it do that? Well, because a filmmaker will always say what Girish said very well. Don't touch a masterpiece, there is nothing to do. Let it be. Let it be where it is. Don't vitiate it. Don't violate it. But when the text, when literature is little weaker, it's not complete in itself, then it gives you a room to engage with it. And a filmmaker loves the idea, of engaging with an incomplete, aesthetically not satisfying text. And in that sense, literature is available to a filmmaker. So when we begin to see films and not identify film as an experience of storytelling, but something else, and I can forever discuss what is that something else, describe it, the sound of the train moving, the guards in the prison walking around making sounds and noises, the atmosphere that comes from the waves that are going by. I'm not looking at Anushka Sharma. I'm not looking at Deepika. I'm listening to those sounds, and thank Lord that Deepika is there. Now, when we talk like that, we are beginning to go very close to the experience of cinema. And a lot of work, a lot of notes, but we'll take up a series of conversations when it happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabodh ji. You have really enlightened this evening, and rightly so, because you have got vast experience. Now we come to listen from Mr. Atul Tiwari. अतुल तिवारी जो कि बहुत बड़े एक्टर हैं स्टेज के और फिल्म के. He has acted in many Hindi films and his acting is superb. I have seen, and I would like to request him. ये जो पहलू हमारे पास है अभी, ये लिटरेचर, ये फिल्म, एक बात आपको बताऊं, 40-50 फिल्म स्टोरी लिखने के बाद, डायलॉग लिखने के बाद, स्क्रीन प्ले लिखने के बाद, मुझे ऐसे एक मीटिंग में एक लेडी आके पूछे, जिन्होंने 10 books she had published. बोले प्रशांत जी, आप इतने सब फिल्म करते हो, आप खुद लिख के, कोई राइटर का बुक्स लेके क्यों नहीं करते? तो फिर मुझे ऐसा लगा कि 40 फिल्म, 40 स्टोरी, 40 डायलॉग राइटिंग करने के बाद भी मैं लिटरेट नहीं हूँ. मेरा जो काम है लिटरेचर का नहीं है. तो पहला तो यह है आपको पूछना चाहता हूं मैं अनिल जी कि सचमुच क्या लिटरेचर का डेफिनेशन अभी फिक्स करना, तय करना जरूरी हो गया है? और इसके साथ ही मेरा एक सवाल आपके साथ रहेगा कि अतुल जी, आप जब एक्टिंग करते हैं, कैरेक्टर आपको दिया गया है, डायलॉग दिया गया है, आप उसको निभा रहे हैं स्टेज पे हो या फिल्म में, कभी आप सोचते हैं आप लिटरेचर का काम कर रहे हैं, या कभी सोचते हैं कि आई एम डूइंग ए ग्रेट जॉब फॉर द एंटायर सोसाइटी as far as novelist is concerned, or as a person who loves literature, or what do you think at that particular time? And we would like your comment to connect our evening subject. Thank you.
Good evening. Before I put in my word, I have a foreword. Little while ago, Professor Prabodh Parikh said that to respond is to be responsible. And I want to be responsible here, and I want to respond to this wonderful presence of our foreign students on the campus. Give them a big hand. I want to respond to their presence because, number one, sorry, we know our audiences because all the people that you see are filmmakers in one way or the other. We know our audiences and we know that you are utterly bored. Not your fault. Not your fault, because you don't know the people on stage. You don't even know the context about which we are talking. You don't know what is Ghata Shraddha. You don't know Mamata and Ma Mamata. You don't know who is Navendu Ghosh. You don't know even the film to which Professor Prabodh Parikh was referring to, The Blood Moon, etc. So it's not your fault that you have been drawn here. But there is one great lesson for you to learn from here. That lesson is, whenever there is a big conference on the campus, never be found here in the evening. Either go out of the campus and see a film, or go to your rooms in the hostel and rest, see TV or study. So, but thank you for being here, because we were also a little bored looking at these red and black chairs. Now we are seeing human faces, and it's our damn job to communicate to you, because we call ourselves communicators. So it's our damn job to talk to you also. That's why I first wanted to be responsible and respond to your wonderful presence here, friends. Thank you. Now, from the foreword to the word. And now, sir, I'll start with something else. I'll come to your questions which you posed in the beginning and now. Number one, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath to my Indian friends, because I learned something new here, that in Odisha, whatever you are starting, you start with the address of Jai Jagannath. It is like, when you go to a temple, you are supposed to take your shoes off, then you are supposed to take your shoes off, there is no question. So, Jai Jagannath from me. And I'm so happy, and friends, you would like to know that these three people who are sitting here, the man on your left, Girish Kasharavalli, is a multiple-time National Film Award winner of the country which makes maximum films in the world, that is India. The man who is sitting in the center, Mr. Prasanta Nanda, his first 3 films as an actor, all 3 are one after the other within a span of 7 years, won 3 national awards. Again from India. And of course, the lady who you see on your extreme right, Ratnottama ji, her books have got national awards, again, from the film national awards from a country which makes the maximum films in the world. So, let me share with you, there is a galaxy of film people. You don't know them, doesn't matter, because they all work in different languages. They don't work essentially in the language in which Shah Rukh Khan makes his Pathan and Jawan and all that, which some of you might be going to the theatres and watching, but they work in different languages. Me, you might have seen in some films like Three Idiots, etc., otherwise not. So, but there I come to the end of my foreword. But I was saying, sir, and since it's very difficult for an ordinary writer of cinema, more than actor, I'm a writer, sir. I've been writing films for the last 40 years. Acting I have started some 10, 12 years back. And that too, I call myself an accidental, reluctant actor. I'm not like you who started his career as a child artist and then grown into a director and a writer. My story is reversed. I started as a writer, then have become an accidental actor. कोई नहीं था तो उसने कैमरे के सामने खड़ा कर दिया, तो फिल्म चल गई, तो एक और किसी ने खड़ा कर दिया. मेरी story ऐसी है. So that's what my connect with literature and writing. Another thing is, I have a request to make, sir. Like I have learned that in Odisha, Jai Jagannath is said. In the same way, and why my request to you, sir, please don't take it as some kind of a comment or something, but it's my genuine request. Prabodh ji said he doesn't go to see Anushka and Deepika. I love Anushka and Deepika both. I can't decide which one more or which one less. Both of them were in the cricket maidan. I did not know whom to look at. But when I go to look at Anushka and Deepika and Katrina and Kareena, just to enjoy myself, see a Pathan and a Jawan, and more than see the Pathan and a Jawan, to see the bikinis in different colors that she's going to wear, I'm supposed to stand up and sing my national anthem. But when you go to Parliament, sir, because you are a member of the Parliament of Rajya Sabha, which is the most pious city in this country, then my judges come to Supreme Court, which is even more pious duty in the country. You people don't sing Janam Gana Gana, you people don't sing our national anthem. So my request through you to the Parliament of India is that why should it be made mandatory to sing our national anthem in the Parliament and the court? If it is mandatory for me to sing my national anthem when I go to see Katrina and Anushka and Deepika and who not. Your duty is much more pious and much more beautiful and much more wonderful. My going to see a film is such a nonsensical, little frivolous work. I am supposed to be so serious, you are supposed to be not. This is my genuine request. मैं बिल्कुल मजाक नहीं कर रहा हूँ सर. और आपका तो करूँगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि आपने ये ट्रेडिशन नहीं शुरू किया है, तो किसी और ने शुरू किया होगा. उसके पहले शायद दिलीप रे साहब को सोचना चाहिए था, उसके पहले शायद बीजू पटनायक साहब को सोचना चाहिए था, अगर यहाँ की बात करें. पर किसी ने सोचा ही नहीं. हमारे लिए सोच लिया कि तुम साले जनमन गन गाओगे और तब तुमको कैटरीना दिखाएंगे. अपने काम के लिए किसी ने सोचा ही नहीं. तो ये भी सर कभी सोचिएगा. But after this very serious thought, I'll come to other serious things that which you have raised today. If film and literature, you said, what is the difference? Are they not the same thing? Very wonderful question, sir. In some ways, they are fulfilling similar kind of duties to communicate certain idea to the people who are sitting in the dark theatre. In some ways. But in other ways, they are very different. I mean, two ways I'm given medicines for the same bimari, for the same road. Either I'm given an oral medicine or I'm going an intravenous medicine. So the ways of giving that message itself becomes different. You also asked a very pertinent, lovely question at the end before I got up, that shall we have to define literature so that we know what is the difference between cinema and literature? Yes, sir. I think the printed word or the oral word is taken as literature as soon as it translates on a pearl in Rajasthan, as soon as it translates into the shadow puppets next to you in Andhra Pradesh and some parts of Odisha. As soon as it translates into another kind of a play using the masks and things and chow, it's no more theatre. It's no more literature. It becomes something else. It mutates into something else. That's why we talk about the interrelationship of two different things, literature and cinema, which carried by the word is literature and which is carried by the visuals on a screen, on a chalachitra, not with live actors, but taken in a camera and then replayed, is called cinema. And to kind of put my point, I would like to quote here one great genius of literature. I'm talking about, his name was taken some time back, of George Bernard Shaw. What did George Bernard Shaw, who was writing his wonderful plays when cinema had already come into the world at the beginning of the 20th century? There was no sound, and he was a playwright who depended on the sounds and words, and too many of them. You know about Shaw. What shall I be telling you about Shaw? But Shaw says, and this is, he said in 1914, the cinema is much more momentous invention than printing was. The cinema tells us a story to the literate as well as illiterate. And it keeps its victim, if you like to call that, and these are Shaw's words, not my words, and it keeps its victim, if you like to call him that, not only awake, but fascinated as if by the serpent's eye. जब सांप सामने होता है, तो आप सो नहीं जाते हो, क्या आप बोर हो गए, तुम कुछ करेंगे जो मैं काट रहा हूँ, भाग रहा हूँ, तो हम सो जाएं, जगह भी रहते हैं, और एक तरह के आप अजीब से स्टूपर में भी चले जाते हो, फैसिनेटेड रहते हो कि किसी कौन सा जादू सामने आ गया. It not only keeps us awake but fascinated by the serpent's eye, and that is why the cinema is going to produce effects that all the cheap books in the world would never produce. So ऐसा भी नहीं है कि जो साहित्य में है वो बहुत उत्तम है और जो सिनेमा में आ गया वो अनुत्तम है, ऐसा भी बिल्कुल नहीं है. Only because it is a printed word, it's great. Only if it is not a printed word, it's in cinema, it's not so great. आजकल की फिल्मों को क्या होता जा रहा है? अरे भाई आजकल के साहित्य को क्या होता जा रहा है? जाके देखो तो कि क्या क्या छपता है. Go to the dark world and see कि क्या क्या छपता है. वो आजकल के सिनेमा को भी होता जा रहा है, ऐसा कुछ नया नहीं है. आजकल की पॉलिटिक्स को क्या होता जा रहा है सर? कितनी चीजें ऐसी छपती हैं जो नहीं छपनी चाहिए, वो चाहे व्हाट्सएप पे हो, चाहे हमारे एक दूसरे की बातों में हो, और चाहे इलेक्शन के भाषणों में हो, फिर चाहे वो इधर के हो या उधर के हो. वो भी तो उतने ही अश्लील हैं जितना कि हमारा सिनेमा आज का अश्लील है, और जितना कि अश्लील साहित्य भी उपलब्ध है, हमेशा से उपलब्ध था. बचपन में मैं कौन सा किताबें खरीदता था, घर से पढ़ाई की किताबें के लिए लेके जाता था, वहां से 64 पन्ने वाली वो किताबें ले आता था, इसमें अच्छी अच्छी तस्वीरें होती थी, अच्छा अच्छा टेक्स्ट होता था. तो ऐसा नहीं कि आजकल हो गया है, हमारा ज़माना बहुत अच्छा था, ऐसा मुझे नहीं लगता है. दूसरी बात कि मैंने अगर कुछ जवाब दिया हो आपके प्रश्न का तो मैं बहुत खुशी होगी मुझे. Andre Bazin, a great film critic of the 20th century, writes at some place, the evolution of the language of cinema. Now, the filmmaker is at last the equal of a novelist. हाँ बात कर रहा है कि फिल्म मेकिंग के मीडियम से ऐसी चीज आ गई है कि वो नॉवेलिस्ट की बराबरी कर सकता है. लेकिन जैसा कि गिरीश ने आपको कहा, जैसा कि प्रबोध जी ने आपको कहा कि जब एक नया मीडियम आया है तो क्यों हम वो पुरानी ड्यूटी ही करते रहे, हम कुछ नया भी तो एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हैं. सो इट डजंट नेसेसरली नीड टू बी अ स्टोरी टेलर ओनली. It can be a storyteller also. It can be informant also. That's why the documentaries are very important. Whatever is happening, it could be a storyteller as well. But then it can also find its own strengths and be something else. And not just be a replacement for something. It should not just be a courier service to take a novel or a story ahead. It could invent its own language, which people have been trying. People like Girish has been trying in this country. There are many other people. Manikol has been trying. Kumar Shani has tried. So everywhere people have tried this. Now, as far as cinema feeding on literature, I would like to use this word, cinema feeding on literature, cinema being the parasite of literature, where it will take the basic life source from the literature is concerned. Well, again, it may take it, it may not take it, depends on the sensibility and the mind of the filmmaker. But because the whole session is titled that what's the title of the session, that revisiting cinema through revisiting literature through cinema. I can only give you a statistics that initially, और गिरीश आपने जो बात कही थी कि एक बात कही थी कि हमेशा से हम लोग अपने आप को रस्सी तोड़ने में लगे हुए थे, लिटरेचर की रस्सी से हमको बांध के रखा गया था। तो एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग डायबॉलिकल और एक इंटरेस्टिंग डायलेक्टिकल रिलेशनशिप है कि जब सिनेमा शुरू हुआ था तो हमने डेफिनेटली बहुत कुछ बोरो किया था वहीं से, वो चाहे रामायण से हो चाहे महाभारत से और हर जगह। यहाँ पे इनिशियल फिल्म 1906 में कोई हैमलेट बनाता है, कोई कुछ बनाता है, कोई कहीं से कहानी लेके आता है, तो लिटरेचर से हमने बोरो किया था। लेकिन उसके बाद में वहाँ से शुरू करने के बाद में हम उसको उस रस्सी को तोड़ने में लगे रहे। जैसे हम लोग माँ बाप ने जन्म दे दिया, फिर हम तोड़ने में लगे रहते हैं रस्सी को। यार हमको let me be my own man, let me not just be your son and daughter. So in the same way we have been trying to tug at that rope and break away from our parents, which was literature in this case. Whether that literature was drama, whether that literature was short story, long story, whatever it was, novel, whatever it was, poems, whatever it was, science fiction it was, we know, George Miles films, etc., etc. So, but at the same time, dialectically, we also keep going to that. Like you yourself, as you said, that 14 out of the 15 films that you have made have sourced themselves from one kind of a novel or the other. So ये एक अजीब सी रिश्ता है कि हम जाना भी चाहते हैं और नहीं भी जाना चाहते, हम दूर भी जाना चाहते हैं और नहीं भी जाना चाहते। एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा एक रिलेशनशिप है हम लिटरेचर वालों का सिनेमा के साथ में। इसलिए the point to be noted and point to be seen is that what is this dynamic relationship? What is this osmosis between the two things, which keeps happening all the time? And then बहुत अच्छी बात थी कि मैं एक चीज़ बताना चाहता था जो sheer statistics है, you know it better than I do. If we take the example of just Odisha, in 1958, if my knowledge is right, so you are here, आपके सामने बोलने में डर लगता है। आप एथिक्स कमेटी में मेरे सवाल क्वेश्चन उठा सकते हैं, जैसे महुआ मैत्रा के खिलाफ उठा दिया गया, मैं नहीं उठा पाऊंगा, तो इसलिए आपके सामने डर लगता है। मगर फिर 1958 में फर्स्ट टाइम उड़िया ज्ञानेंद्र वर्मा के माँ नाम के उपन्यास पे पहली फिल्म बनी। उसके बाद से काफी बनती रही, तरह तरह के राइटर्स आए बीच में। लेकिन अभी मुझे किसी ने बताया कि 2008 के बाद से उड़ीसा में कोई भी फिल्म किसी कहानी पे नहीं बनी, सब जो है इंडिपेंडेंट फिल्मों पे बनी है या दूसरी फिल्मों से इंस्पायर होकर बनी है, लेकिन किसी साहित्यिक कृति से इंस्पायर होकर 2008 के बाद से I will be totally wrong. So you can correct me, it will be a good education for me. नहीं बनी है उड़िया में ये फिल्में। मैं अपनी बात खत्म करना चाहूँगा। बहुत अच्छी बात गिरीश ने की थी शुरू में कि जब सत्यजीत रे की फिल्म फिर एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण उपन्यास और बड़े उपन्यास पर आधारित थी, उसको जब नीरज सी चौधरी ने देखा और नीरज सी चौधरी ने कहा कि भाई इसमें तुम्हारा तो कुछ है ही नहीं, जो भी है वो विभूति बाबू का है। नीरज सी चौधरी वॉज अ बिग सिनिक, उनकी बात को शायद इतना सीरियसली नहीं लेना चाहिए, लेकिन the thing is that this reaction is often heard whenever people go and see a work of cinema based on a novel or a story or whatever. जिन्हें प्रेमचंद नहीं दिखाई दे सकते थे, नहीं वो फ्लाइट ऑफ अ पिजन नहीं दिखाई दी श्याम बेनेगल की जुनून में, नहीं ये नहीं दिखाई दिया, वो नहीं दिखाई दिया. The book was much better. So it's a borrowed joke, but I would like to share that borrowed joke with you people. Once, do you know, I mean, especially our foreign friends, that if you want to have a small little hilly chutti, whenever you have a little few days, you can go in Odisha to Satkosia Hilak, which is on the Mahanadi, not very far from here. So once two goats were grazing in the green pastures of Satkosia hills, and while grazing in the soft grass, they came upon something very hard in the ground. So they used their horns and they took it out, whatever it was. They were very curious goats. And lo and behold, there was a spool of films. Because spool of films are totally useless now. Films no more come on the spools. So if somebody had thrown it and it got buried in the ground, then they opened the spool box, and as soon as they opened the spool box, the whole film, as you know, it unfurled from both the sides. And the two goats were very curious, and they said, well, it's a new thing, so let's eat it. So from two ends they started eating. And they ate, and after 8 minutes, they came together. And they belched. And one of them told the other, well, the book was better. So book is always better. Book is always better. Because as Girish said, book lets you make your own film in your head. And film concretely gives you somebody else's idea. So once you have read the book and you have made your own film, then naturally, मेरी शर्ट तो तुम्हारी शर्ट से ज़्यादा सफेद है ही. मेरी फिल्म तुम्हारी फिल्म से हमेशा बेहतर है. उनको मिले होंगे नेशनल अवार्ड, तो मिले होंगे. मैं क्या करूँ? माय फिल्म इसलिए हमेशा this is the reaction of the people. But nevertheless, as we have said here, as filmmakers, film's job is much more than just being a courier of literature. So we are no more only the book post. We are something more. Thank you.
Thank you, Atulji. Now I think the time has come to say that this meeting or this deliberation or the experiences of yours to be delivered इसका तो टाइम हो गया है. But I will tell you one thing, most important thing, that people like Girish ji, प्रबोध जी, अतुल जी और हमारे सेनगुप्ता जी एक साथ होना और एक लिटरेचर के बारे में, फिल्म के बारे में कहना, जिन लोग सुन रहे हैं, जो भी हैं, और कल पेपर में भी आएगा, इसके बारे में सारे डिटेल्स भी आएंगे, तो दिस विल डेफिनेटली be a matter of discussion in our state. There is no doubt. Because I know this personally. You are absolutely a personality whom we cherish. And while Atulji was telling about Odia film, the originality of it, it happens. It happens sometimes. The non-maker, when he becomes a maker, he will always try. He cannot see a film through screenplay. He will see a film by seeing another film, and then only he remakes. And that is the problem. But that is a temporary affair. That will not be there. We will again come back. And my experience से एक बात छोटा सा बोलूँगा. I was the hero of Meenal Sen's one film, Bati the Manish. Martin Ramanujan. So, Meenakshi wanted that this film of mine should get the Golden Award in National Film Festival. And the competition was with Mr. Sengupta's father, Ravindra Das, that is Tisri Kasa. So it so happened that Martin Ramanujan got the silver and the golden went to that. Meenakshi was very, very unhappy. And on the contrary here, the picture didn't run. The picture didn't run because that was a classic. All the people of Orissa have read that. And they said, as Atul ji said, "नहीं, किताब तो अच्छा था, इसलिए नहीं लिखा." तो ऐसा होता है, but I can always tell you that सिक्के के दो पहलू हैं, लिटरेचर एंड फिल्म, ये दोनों बराबर है, ये किसी को छोड़ के कोई नहीं जा सकता, ये सब इंटरविंड है. And whenever there will be a film, the literature will be there, and whenever literature is there, there will be many, many films which will be made. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for this.